street today? Are you proud that as right now, as U.S. bombs and missiles are falling on people in the Middle East and in North Africa, that you are here in the streets standing against it? Are you proud of that, sisters and brothers? Well, it's not just about today. It's about tomorrow and the next day and the next day of fighting and organizing and working together and bringing these criminal wars to an end. Now, 8 years ago, sisters and brothers, 8 years ago, I stepped foot in Iraq in March of 2003 because we were told by this government that it was in our national security interests, that the people of Iraq wanted to be liberated. Well, 8 years later, there's over 1 million Iraqis who have been killed, more who have been wounded, 5 million refugees, an entire generation of children, of young people, of students who will be psychologically traumatized for the rest of their lives, for the shock and awe, and for the slaughter that was imposed upon them. Almost 5,000 soldiers were dead. Tens of thousands came home in wheelchairs. 1,500 soldiers have died in Afghanistan alone. Now, what are these wars about?
Oil money.
That is right. We have to be clear. The war in Afghanistan, just like the war in Iraq, is not about building democracy. It's not about keeping us safe here at home. It's about controlling oil and natural gas reserves for billions of dollars in profits for a couple of billionaires sitting at the top. Now, if you have soldiers on the front lines in Afghanistan or in the bunkers in Iraq, if you took a poll and you said, how many of you have parents who are CEOs in oil companies? How many of you own stock in the defense contractors? Sisters and brothers, the answer would be 0. When the rich want to make a war, they use the people who can't afford to go to college, who can't get a job, who can't have a place to live, who can't have health care for their children. That's who they use. And that's why we say that everyone in the military has the right to refuse to fight in Iraq and Afghanistan, and that's what they should do. And right now on stage are veterans of the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan. On stage right now are people in the active duty army, the active duty Marines, who are refusing their orders to fight in order to start standing against the war machine. And this happens because of people like you, because you come out to the streets and because you show that there's another way. And the more you stand up and resist, the more soldiers will stand up and resist too. Now they tell us these wars are for national security, to control these countries in the Middle East. Well, we say national security to the billionaires and the millionaires is a different national security than we think it is. We think it's a national security issue that there's tens of millions of families in the Midwest that are going to have their heat shut off this winter. That's a national security issue. We think it's a national security issue that over 1 million school children a year are homeless, that live with their families in their cars. That's a national security issue. But this government, all they will do is lie and lie and lie, so your tax dollars and your family members go to fight these wars. And what do they do when we tell the truth? Who knows who Bradley Manning is? Who here thinks Bradley Manning is a hero? He is a hero because he told the truth. When all we have gotten is lies, he is telling the truth. We are telling the truth today, and that is what's going to end these wars. Now, there are those who have said, I've heard it a million times, that protesting doesn't work, that we should look to the politicians, that we should vote, that protesting doesn't do anything, that taking to the streets don't do anything. Well, now, sisters and brothers, we have a one-word response for that. Egypt! Egypt! Egypt showed us that it's the people that have the power. The politicians have nothing. Even the most entrenched rule of the rich, with a brutal police force, with billions of dollars in military fundings, this most entrenched billionaire dictatorship, they could not last 2 weeks when the people took to the streets and demanded change. Now we know that this government is on just as fragile as ground as the Mubarak regime, that they are losing the war in Afghanistan, that they will never succeed in Iraq, and the more they continue these wars, the more they attack our rights, our benefits, our education here at home. So the power in Washington and in the Pentagon, their power, like Mubarak's, is teetering on the edge. And we want it to fall. But it doesn't fall unless you hit it. And today we're hitting it. And we're going to hit it again and again and again until it falls, till the real war criminals in jail. And then when it falls, that's when we can build something new, sisters.
8th Marines as an automatic machine gunner. There's a term, once a Marine, always a Marine, but there's also the term, eat the apple, F the Corps. I don't work for you no more.
We are members of Veterans for Peace, an ex-services organisation of men and women who have served this country in every conflict since the Second World War. We exist in the hope of convincing you that war is not the solution to the problems of the 21st century. We have come here today to hand back things given to us as soldiers that we no longer require or want.
This is my oath of allegiance. It's something I had to recite in order to get the job as a soldier. At 15 years old, I had little understanding of its true meaning. Now I fully understand the words. They have no meaning at all.
This is my oath of allegiance. This was a contract between the monarchy, the British government and a 15-year-old child. I'm no longer loyal to the government or the monarchy.
This is my oath of allegiance. I made this oath when I was 19 years old. It required me to obey orders without question. I am no longer bound by this contract.
Prime Minister, the Iraq War has raged for 12 years and created the circumstances for the rise of Islamic State, and all on the basis of the lies about weapons of mass destruction and Osama bin Laden. Prime Minister, seeing as we helped start this war and create the Islamic State threat, will you acknowledge the Howard government got it very wrong and agree to a proper war inquiry?
There is no doubt that this government is playing up the terror threat, is overplaying its response to that terror threat for political gain.
You know, now more than ever we need to rely on each other. When I joined the military, you know, I thought the most honorable thing a person can do is to stand up for what they believe in. I believed in this country, and I still do, especially with all you fine people here today and currently serving in the military overseas. I never understood politics, and to be quite honest, I didn't care to. That is, until I came across the issue of geoengineering. There's substantial evidence that these programs are going on currently, not only from the testimonies you're hearing today, but from doctors, scientists, and activists around the world. This is a global issue. A quote from the U.S. Air Force document reads, "In 2025, U.S. aerospace forces can own the weather by capitalizing on emerging technologies." Ironically, there are also doctors like David Keith, Alan Roebuck, and Ken Caldera, all trying to convince the American people that these climate engineering programs are a good thing to help fight global warming. When confronted, they deny these programs exist. I decided to take matters into my own hands, and I had my own local rainwater tested. When I got my test results back, it shocked me. I had found heavy metals, specifically barium, strontium, and aluminum, known metals in aerosol disbursement patents. While looking into this further, I met with people with the same metals showing up in their blood tests. And as I look around today, I currently see people all over that are sick, having health problems that are consistent with heavy metal toxicity. Mainstream media blames these global warming anomalies only on CO2, without any mention from the catastrophic climate engineering programs that are currently connected to completely disrupting weather patterns. This is not a time for discussion, but a time for action. We need help from our enlisted military personnel as well as any officers involved with these programs, especially anyone a part of Operation Indigo Skyfold or any similar programs. Please help shed light on these issues because, like Dane will tell you, time is not on our side. We need our military men and women more than ever now to stand up. We're seeing Earth's life support systems diminish right before our eyes, while methane is being released at historic levels. We cannot rely on our elected officials, and if you think I'm being unreasonable, consider the following. Princeton did a study to answer a simple question: does the government represent the people? With over 40 years of data they compiled, they discovered that, and I quote, "The preference of the average American appear to only have a minuscule, near zero, statistically non-significant impact upon public policy." So if you thought the government doesn't have your best interest in mind, you're right. The question is, what are we going to do about it? We need to take action because this affects all those who inhabit the earth, especially those that don't have a voice in this fight, and those who have made the ultimate sacrifice. What would be their voice on the matter? All other issues seem to fall by the wayside by the importance of stopping geoengineering. I've talked to local board of supervisors, I've talked to EPA, I've talked to congressmen, but no investigation has taken place as of yet, and I know most of you in the crowd can relate. So I have a big problem with this illegitimate government and its federal bureaucracies. I sacrificed 4 years of my life defending the people of my country just to come home and find there are greater threats here domestically. Our questions aren't being addressed and time is running out. So in closing, I just ask the military brothers and sisters to stand with us, the side of humanity, and to test this corrupt regime and to put a stop to these crimes against our planet and humanity. Come from the shadows and know that you are not alone. We can provide the cover necessary and the support for exposing this. Thank you, and have a great day home.